Hi guys, my name is Sanjay Gupta. I'm a consultant cardiologist, and today I wanted to do a little video on blood pressure. And this video is entitled, Why is my blood pressure all over the place? All right. So, one of the commonest concerns that people who have high blood pressure have is that they will do the blood pressure at one point and the blood pressure would be what they think is normal. Another point they'll do it and the blood pressure will be sky high. Another time the blood pressure will be low, and the blood pressure fluctuates a lot. And this causes a great deal of concern because the patient thinks, well, I'm taking my blood pressure medication. Why is it so fluctuant? And particularly when the values are high, the patient gets really, really concerned. Am I going to have a stroke? Is this what's going to happen to me? Um, and also, incidentally, sometimes people who have high blood pressure will then start feeling dizzy at times, particularly first thing in the morning when they get up and get out of bed and they feel dizzy. And at that time, they go and speak to their doctor and they say, "Oh, that's low blood pressure." And so the question is, well, if you've got high blood pressure, how can you have low blood pressure? What's going on there? And I thought I'd do a little video to try and make you understand this, because if you understand it, it'll take away some of this anxiety caused by very high blood pressure readings or very low blood pressure readings. Okay, so the first thing to understand is that when you're thinking of blood pressure, it helps to think of uh, pressure that is generated inside a vessel. So our hearts will pump blood out into our blood vessels, okay? And we don't have just one blood vessel. Yes, we have one main blood vessel, but then that branches and has smaller branches and smaller branches and smaller branches. Eventually it becomes capillaries, supplies the vital organs, and those capillaries become veins, and the veins come back to the heart. So in essence, the vessel is a closed vessel, right? Okay, it has that opening, which is the heart pumping blood in, but otherwise the vessel is closed. So in a very simplistic sense, you can think of the vessel as a container, like a balloon, for example, all right? Our blood vessels, if everything is combined together, would be like a balloon, all right? Now, when you blow in the balloon, the pressure that is generated inside the balloon is dependent on two things. How much is going into the balloon, how much you're blowing into the balloon, and how stretchy that balloon is. It's as simple as that. Pressure is force over area. Force is essentially how much you're putting into that vessel. Area is how much volume, how much space there is in that vessel, and in particular, if the vessel is stretchy, then as you put more in, the vessel stretches, and therefore the pressure doesn't go up as much because the area has increased. All right. In people who have high blood pressure or who have had high blood pressure, the problem is that the balloon is no longer a balloon. The balloon has become a hot water bottle. All right. So what happens in a hot water bottle? In a hot water bottle, if you blow air in, you're blowing in, but the walls do not stretch, and therefore the pressure is higher in a hot water bottle for the same volume. All right. Now, let me just show you something. If you look at this, if you draw a graph against volume and pressure, you will find that if you had a balloon, for example, the more volume you increase, the more the pressure will build up, all right? And the pressure will build up. And eventually, as the balloon gets bigger and bigger, it gets harder and harder to pump air in. So you have to put less, you put even less volume will cause a higher pressure towards the end when it's really stretchy. So when you've got a balloon, for example, and you're blowing, it's easier to blow in at the beginning, but towards the end when it's really big, the amount of volume you have to put in is only small and the pressure goes up significantly, right? And that's why over here it's going up like this, but as you get towards the end where the balloon is getting bigger and bigger, the amount of volume you just need to put in a little bit of volume, but look how much it increases the pressure. So a little bit of volume here, but the pressure has gone up all this way, right? So that's what happens in a balloon. Now let's think of what happens in a hot water bottle. In a hot water bottle, what will happen is, let me just show you this, okay? So in a hot water bottle, what's happening is this second curve here. So the amount of volume you put in is very small, and the pressure goes up manyfold, all right? So you've only put a little bit of volume in, but the pressure, look at how much the pressure goes up by. Okay, so from here, for example, if I put in somewhere here, there's the volume. If I increase that, look at how much more the pressure has gone up compared to in the balloon. All right, so basically what happens therefore is that if you increase the amount of volume in that vessel, for the same amount of volume, the pressure will go up more, right? So everything will be magnified. Because you don't have the stretchy vessels which damp down this increase in pressure, anything you put in will be magnified. So if you increase the volume slightly, the pressure will go up significantly. Similarly, if you decrease the volume slightly, the pressure goes down significantly in a person who has high blood pressure. And that is why people will say, when I get up first thing in the morning, I feel dizzy. Well, the reason you're feeling dizzy is because overnight you've been dehydrated because you haven't drunk. You get up in the morning, you change posture, all right? And that small reduction in volume in your body will cause a big reduction in pressure, and that's why you feel dizzy, all right? And then that's why people come to me in clinic, for example. They come to me and see me in hospital, and they'll say, oh my God, my blood pressure is sky high. Why is it sky high? It was fine yesterday, and now it's sky high. And the reason is that people come into hospital, they're stressed, their heart rate has gone up, the amount of volume that's going in is much higher, and that is why that change is magnified because the vessels aren't stretchy, and therefore the increase in heart rate has a much bigger impact on the blood pressure. And that is what happens. So the truth is that this increased variability is just part and parcel of having high blood pressure, of having less stretchy vessels, all right? And that's just part and parcel of it. Now, the problem is that people say, well, I'm taking medication. But the problem with the medications is that they're not dynamic. People take beta blockers. What do beta blockers do? They slow the heart down. So in essence, you're putting less force in because the heart rate is slower. But you're still putting force in. It's not dynamic. It doesn't change in conditions. It's the same. It works the same way at all times. Whereas the stretchiness, the blood vessels just stretch whenever they need to stretch because the force has gone up. So the blood vessels stretch. With the heart rate, your heart rate may be, instead of 80, your heart rate may be 60, but then when you walk, your heart rate will still go up to 80, so you'll still get an increase in the heart rate, which will still magnify your blood pressure change. And also people who take things like calcium blockers or ACE inhibitors, again, all you're doing with those is you're opening up the blood vessel. You're not making the blood vessel more stretchy, you're just opening it up. So sure, you've got a bigger hot water bottle, but it's still a hot water bottle. It's not become a balloon. And this is the problem. So whenever you're dealing with this scenario of high blood pressure, all fluctuations in the heart rate, fluctuations in the volume status will magnify in terms of blood pressure, will magnify the change in blood pressure. Okay, and people who are elderly, for example, they're put on blood pressure tablets to lower the blood pressure, and next thing they find themselves on the floor from time to time because that small change in volume, if they're a little bit dehydrated, if they develop a little bit of an infection, they become dehydrated, then that translates into a big fall in blood pressure, and that's why they black out. Now, the point is that I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't worry about the variability because that is part and parcel of just having harder vessels. Okay, and I would be reluctant to change a person's medications based on just a reading here and there. So, if someone comes to me and says, oh, well, look, I've got high blood pressure, and today when I've come to you, the blood pressure is 180 over 100, I say, don't worry about it. we don't need to start treating that. If there is a lot of variation and a person is really worried, I would prefer to do a 24-hour blood pressure monitor and rely on an average rather than relying on isolated readings. Because my worry is that if you treat someone when their blood pressure is very high, you could paradoxically push it down extremely low, particularly if it's just because their heart rate is high, etc. And that may not truly reflect what their blood pressure is like normally. So if you have high blood pressure and you're struggling with variability, the first thing is that's just part and parcel of having high blood pressure. The second thing is, instead of your GP or your doctor worrying about treating your blood pressure based on isolated readings, I would strongly recommend you have a 24-hour blood pressure monitor so that you have an average reading and you try and treat the average, okay, rather than treating just the peaks and troughs. So I hope this was helpful. And hopefully that will take away some of the anxiety associated with why blood pressure readings are so variable. That is just part and parcel of having less stretchy vessels. Whatever your whatever your changes are, they will be magnified in terms of blood pressure because your blood vessels cannot stretch to accommodate that extra increase in force or decrease in volume, increase in volume or decrease in volume. And so, you know, it doesn't really matter in the long run. What matters when you have high blood pressure is your average over a 24-hour period. And you should try and aim to bring the whole average down and not worry so much about the up and down readings. And that's about it, really. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. You've been very, very kind. My channel is finally beginning to gain some traction. It's an exciting time for me because it's nice to see people coming and watching me and appreciating the fact that they feel that I have something worthwhile to say. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much, and I wanted to wish you a really good night. Now, one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to show you someone who brings my blood pressure down when it's high. So I'll go and get her. Just give me 1 second. And here she is. This is Bluebell Gupta, the head of security, head honcho. And whenever my blood pressure is up, I come and spend some time with her, and she brings it down. So she's amazing, and I love her very much. And so say bye. So from me and from Bluebell Gupta, thank you so much for watching. All the best. Take care. Bye.